Hello, welcome to TexasAdultDriversEducation.com. This is a 6-hour course that's going to cover 8 chapters over a 6-hour period with some breaks thrown in. At the end of the course, there's an end-of-course test. Once you pass this test, then you can begin one of the greatest adventures in your life, driving. Upon passing this course, you will get a certificate in the mail from us. This certificate counts as the written part of your Department of Public Safety test. You can then take the certificate over to the Department of Public Safety where you can tell them, I want to get my learner's permit or instruction permit, which is the same thing. Then you can begin to legally practice driving on public roads with someone 21 years old or older in the passenger seat. If you already know how to drive, then tell the DPS, I want to take my driving test or road test. This is the DPS test where you actually get behind the wheel of your car and drive. A lot of young people ask, why do I have to take this course? Well, this course exists because drivers 18 to 25 years old are extremely dangerous when they get on the road. In fact, they're statistically almost twice as likely to end up in a fatality while driving than other drivers in all of the other age groups that are on the road. So, does driving involve risk? Of course it does. Driving involves tons and tons of decisions, and with each decision, there is risk involved. There are 2 parts to making great decisions. First, we have to know the rules of the road. So one of the main reasons we've laid this course out the way we have is to help you understand the rules and remember them. And of course, knowing the rules is going to lead to passing that test at the end of the course. Second, we have to know and understand risk. Risk has 2 parts. One is looking at the idea of how likely a situation is to happen to me, and second is how serious are the consequences. What the numbers show is that in 2011, there were 20 million licensed drivers in the state of Texas. Of those 20 million, 3,016 ended up dead. 15% of all drivers on the road are between the ages of 16 and 24. So, 15% of all traffic fatalities should have been people between 16 and 24 years old, which is about 452 people. Instead, 25% of all traffic fatalities happened to people between 16 and 25, or 754 people. Really take this grim statistic in. 754 people in your age group died in a moving vehicle accident, and statistically, it should have only been 452. So almost twice as many in your age group died that statistically should have been. I can educate you, but only you can make better decisions. And that's really why this course exists, because the amount of fatalities in your age group does not match the number of drivers that are out there on the road in your age group. When I looked at the numbers involving the fatalities in your age group, I came across some really disturbing things that are easy for us to fix. Over half of the wrecks that led to fatalities were single car accidents. What does this mean? In other words, you were out driving and you were not even hit by another car. You probably ran off the road. Right around a third of the accidents not only involved running off the road, but it led to a car rolling over. Right around another third of the accidents involved speeding. So, if we take these basic factors that lead to all these fatalities, we can sum it up like this. People were speeding, ran off the road, and their car rolled over. So then we step back and ask, what can cause all of this? Alcohol. Alcohol involves anywhere from 38 to 48% of all fatalities in any given year. Yes, there's a range to this. People's attitudes about drinking and driving change, but over a 10-year period, death rates stayed in this 40% range. But alcohol is the leading cause behind these deaths. When it is combined with speed, running off the road, and rolling the car. So when it comes to risk taking, we simply cannot drink and drive. And speed in any form is a constant threat that leads to some fatalities. Does speed kill? Yes, it does. When we look a little bit further at these numbers, we also see that a lot of this is happening in rural areas of Texas. And this is an extremely rural state. Yes, we have some metropolitan areas, but for the most part, 80% of our geography is still plenty rural. So many of these fatalities are happening in that rural area. So another factor that we have to consider is the issue of driving in rural areas. This is an area where we want to heighten our awareness because the risks go up. And the risks go up because of the increased speeds in rural areas. The next thing we need to talk about is the issue of risk-taking in young people. Doctors, medicine, scientists have all looked at the brains of people at different ages in their lives. And one of the things that they figured out is that young people have a terrible ability of understanding what is risky and the consequences, and imagining the consequences. One of the things that I've done as a teacher is I don't talk to young people about the idea of dying. I talk about the idea of what if you end up in a wheelchair? What if you end up driving, creating an accident, and putting someone else in a wheelchair? This is what we're talking about when we talk about consequences and risk in driving. Young people simply have a very, very poor understanding of risk. And they've done these MRIs of young people's brains. And they see that the part of the brain that measures risk, that understands risk, is not developed like it is someone 24, 25, 26 years old or older. It's at these ages we first see the development of the understanding of risk, okay? So take that into consideration. Our brains are continually changing and adapting to the environment we live in. For example, young children, someone that is 5 years old, cannot understand that a glass is both half empty and half full. They don't understand that it is both at the same time, whereas you and I clearly understand this. So that's an example of how our brains change and we gain understanding of the world around us. And that is something that we've got to get taken care of in this course. We've got to understand that we take risks when we get behind the wheel of a car, but we have the power to learn to minimize those risks. And we do that by looking at our speed, the issue of drinking and driving, and understanding other factors that we learn more about later on in the course that contribute to high-risk situations, weather being another big factor. And then, as I mentioned earlier, driving in rural areas. One of the most common things that comes up is that when people start considering the idea of, I'm going to get a driver's license, is this idea of, is driving a privilege or is it a right? Clearly, as we look at the laws, driving is a privilege. We can take it away from you for a short period of time, called a suspension, or we can take it away from you for a lifetime, and that's a revocation. We can flat take the privilege away from you. Why do we do this? Because you've proven through a variety of actions that you don't deserve the privilege to drive. So, can we take this away from you? Yes. Since driving is a privilege, that really means that it's a freedom. And if we look at freedoms, we can understand that for every ounce of freedom we give people, there's an equal amount of responsibility. And driving is a huge freedom. Therefore, it has a huge amount of responsibility. Are you responsible for maintaining your car? Are the tires on your car safe to drive on? Does your car have headlights or taillights that work and can help other drivers see you and respond to you? Do you have to maintain insurance on your car? So are there financial responsibilities that go with car ownership? Yes. So even when gasoline escalates to $4 or $5 a gallon, you're still obligated to maintain your car. So driving a car can be expensive. There are other parts of financial responsibility when it comes to driving a car. There's your inspection sticker, your registration sticker. Those have to be maintained as well when you're driving a car. Also, we have to go and renew our license. There are fees for our driver's license. All of these things do cost money. And unfortunately, if you don't meet these obligations, there are fines, much less license suspensions and revocations that can go with all of this. These are there to motivate you to obey the law and put a safe car on the road and be a safe driver. Another big influence in you being a safe driver is your insurance. Unfortunately, your age group pays an enormous fee every month just for you to insure your car. So we've got to look at that. You've got to realize that if you make a mistake while driving and end up with a speeding ticket, or your inspection sticker is expired, or you don't have insurance at all, the cost can be enormous to you. So whether we use this idea of consequences to motivate you to be a safe driver and make good decisions, or we move on to this next thing, which is when you're driving, what impact might your decision have on others in the community? Some of you may live in small communities, some in big communities. Think about it this way. What if the person you hit is someone you know? It could be someone you know and care for, and yet you've done something that injured them. How rotten is that going to feel? When we get on the road, we have to find that part that is in us that says, I could hurt somebody when I'm out there on the road. Whether it's this part of personal responsibility that you want to look at, or the consequences, let either one of these motivate you to be a safe decision maker. What is a safe decision maker? It's one that understands driving close to other cars increases the risk for everyone. It's knowing that if you are not alert when behind the wheel, the risk increases for everyone. Being distracted increases risk and affects everyone. When we get behind the wheel of a car, we've got to stay focused. Today, in this course, while you're working through this material, stay focused. The information that we're trying to give you not only can save your life, but the lives of people around you.